Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bunbun.
Welcome to our reaction and review for The Amazing Race 37 premiere. We are back covering The Amazing Race. We cannot be more excited.
I'm so excited to be back covering this show. I mean, the teams so far, I like so many people. I don't even know who to root for. Like, there's so many different teams that are bringing different stories and pulling at my heart.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my goodness, we already lost Jackie and Lauren. Like, I just loved their story. I loved watching them like keep pushing on, even though they knew they were in last. I was just like, this is what I live for with this show. Like, it's so fun, of course, to watch people that are doing really well and, getting first and, feeling really proud of themselves. But man, when you've got a team like this that just has like so much heart, I knew from the edit that they weren't going to make it, but I was like, please edit, just be doing me dirty, and they really are going to make it after all.
I would have been more than fine with that.
I
think
love them.
there's a lot of really likable people. Like, this show is always going to have a special place in my heart because, I mean, number one, for those who don't know, you are looking at a middle school geography bee champion. Thank you very much. Now, I act like this is a big thing. My middle school is like a tiny, tiny town. But beyond all that, it's just that this has always been like my first real reality TV love, where I was into this even before I was into Survivor and Big Brother. And so it's so nostalgic to be back into this. Yeah, there's a lot of teams I love.
Yeah.
I kind of question, are there too many teams right now? But, we'll get into all of that. We'll discuss the fork in the road twist and something that Jess and I always love to do as well, which is the whole what if game, where if we are on The Amazing Race together, what would we have done and how would we have navigated this?
Absolutely.
But before we go forward, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we will be here throughout all of The Amazing Race 37 with reviews, reactions. We are also in the midst of covering Survivor 48 as well. So this is a very busy Wednesday night reality TV edition here at the channel. And we don't want you guys to miss any of that as we're on our road to 70,000 subscribers.
We also have the finale of The Traitors coming up.
Yes.
So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Stick with us for all of this reality TV coverage that we have coming up. And also, you can help support us further by joining our Patreon, where you can get more reality TV conversations with us, as well as exclusive videos we are covering over there exclusively. The Pit, which is airing on Max, and Prime Target, which has just finished airing on Apple TV Plus. And we also have more weekly videos that are going to be coming up on some other shows over there, where our Patreons get to vote on what shows we cover over there. And it is the only place that you can get those videos. So thank you so much to everyone who has joined our Patreons helping us out.
Thank you guys. We really, really appreciate that. Okay, so we started and you talked a little bit about Jackie and Lauren. So let's
Jackie Lauren.
Let's just go into all of our favorites here from the get-go. So everybody out there knows where at least some of our rooting interest lies.
Yeah, my favorites have left.
Okay, I have a couple of favorites here that I'll go through.
Okay.
I like Pops and Jack.
I like them too.
I think a part of it is just like being on this show and you want to go by Pops. Like, you're always going to immediately win my heart when you do something like that. I also just love how Pops is just like going up that bamboo staff like as fast as he was. He just seemed very willing, very likable. I'm always kind of down for watching these like interesting parent-child relationships on this show.
Talk about people that climb that like it was nothing I've ever seen. Brett, wow, he just scaled that bamboo thing. Like, I would have still been at the bottom of that, being like, I don't know, man.
So yeah, I'm Team Pops and Jack. I will also say, and I kind of went back and forth about this because I think there's such a, I'll be honest, there is such a thing sometimes as nerd jealousy, where you look at other nerds and you're a nerd watching a reality TV show.
100%.
And I'm sitting here being like, are you guys too cool? Because I'm not as cool as you. And this was what I was like with Carson and Jack, who are like Dungeons and Dragons streamers. And I have a couple of questions who's the dungeon master, what sort of runs are you guys doing, what's your classes. We've done like a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons. We have dabbled.
Yeah, we have dabbled together. I used to play a lot more when I was younger.
Mhm.
It's super, super fun. I mean, I want to root for Carson and Jack just because they are Dungeons and Dragons and into all the role playing games that I really like as well.
Yeah.
And so far, so good. I mean, they're doing really well.
Yeah.
And I mean, how can you not root for the other nerds that are on the show?
Yeah, I just feel myself being gravitated a lot to them early on. And I mean, it certainly helps that they won one of two of the
Yeah, they
various sort of
did.
forks that we saw in this episode. But okay, we've got our favorites out of the way. So let's flash back a little bit to the start of this episode.
Okay, beep, bop, 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 boop. Okay, we're at the start.
All right, Phil is there. His eyebrow is doing its fierce thing where it's looking all over the place. And, they've introduced this idea of we have more teams than ever before.
Yeah.
I will say I understand it because we're in a 90-minute time slot. For those of you who don't know, this is technically only the second season of Amazing Race that was filmed with the idea of it being 90 episodes. The season that aired last year was not originally meant to air that way. So they were probably like, okay, we need to find a way to fill all this time. It's just a lot of people to remember. And, my memory, it's okay. But, like, you're going to see me look over to the side here and there because I still don't know all the teams. I have to write them all down.
My memory is for crap. So it's the same for me. There is a lot of teams. We only really kind of got to know a handful of them at this point, some of
Yeah.
their backgrounds and stuff like that. But there is a lot of people to keep track of at this point. So it is kind of, like I said, for me, there's a lot of people that I'm rooting for, but there's also a lot of people that I just haven't got a chance to know yet.
Yeah, like big personalities in an episode like this. They're always going to stand out more.
Yes.
And that just sort of leaves you scrambling. I think for me, 12 to 13 teams is probably ideal. But I mean, we did lose 2 teams in this episode. That speeds it along.
Yeah, so you've gotten your wish, but I've lost Jackie and Lauren, so
Yeah, I know. And we will get even more into Jackie and Lauren because I don't want to put on the hard hat, but I'm going to have to put on the hard hat a little bit later with them.
Oh no.
Okay, so the race begins. We're in Los Angeles, which I always find it hilarious that they start a lot of these seasons in Los Angeles because what's exciting about sitting in traffic for 3 hours trying to get to the airport?
Yeah, or being at LAX, which is a clown car. I mean, it's rough. I just came back from Bulgaria like 2 weeks ago and I had to go through LAX. I do anything that I can to avoid going
Yeah.
to LAX because it is such a clown car, but anywhere else that I could have gone, it was like 2 stopovers to get to and from Bulgaria,
Yeah.
and they were the only place that was offering one, and it's already like a 17-hour
Yeah.
flight.
You just sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but
gotta do
this
what you
is
gotta
like
do.
Amazing Race. You guys don't have to go to LAX. You guys have a lot of money. You can go somewhere else. But no,
Yeah.
they like starting the seasons here, a lot of them anyway, because
Mm-hmm.
it is, this iconic place. But they're all going to Hong Kong. And they do this sort of classic Amazing Race thing where it's like, there are 2 flights. You better make the first flight or else. But what's hilarious about this, and this happens sometimes on the show, the first flight ends up arriving late. The second flight ends up arriving early. So there's really not that much of a time difference between the 2.
That's the thing, is that while sometimes you get a little bit of a lead or sometimes you get like a huge lead like Anna and
Yep.
Jonathan had, it always seems to kind of, at least from the edit, work out in a way where everybody ends up together again. I
Yeah.
know I'm jumping ahead a bit here, but we saw Anna and Jonathan have this huge lead, and because they're sitting there having to like wait for the ferry, all of a sudden everybody's with them except for one team. And I understand
Yeah.
Jonathan's frustration with that and Anna's frustration with that, where they're just like, man, okay, so then what was the point of like running here and getting the first ferry and everything went really well? And now it's like, because, the ferry comes every half an hour, now everybody's here. Like,
Yeah.
it's so unfair.
It's incredibly unfair. And I think I'm going to give a message to Jonathan and Anna as though they haven't already ran this entire race, but it's just the Amazing Race. It's not fair. This is a very difficult show because luck is constantly playing its way into it.
100%. And seeing Jonathan and Anna come in like second place and his poor attitude
Yeah.
about it, where he's just like, oh man, I should have been first. It's like, okay, yeah, you should have been first, and
Yeah.
that's fine, but you weren't, but you were second,
Yeah.
and you're still in the race. Like seeing everybody else, like, oh man, I came in sixth. Yes, I'm not eliminated. I'm like, that's the attitude
Yes.
that should be.
You need to be Sandra Diaz Twine on The Amazing Race and just being like, as long as it's not me, you get to go to the next leg.
That's right.
You get to be okay.
Anyone but me.
Yeah. All right. So we're in Hong Kong. This is not the first time The Amazing Race has been there. I always find it fun, though, for it being really early on in the show because it is one of the most congested places in pretty much the entire planet. And it feels like, speaking of luck, they had a lot of luck on this leg because it looked like it was raining half the time. So probably a lot of people who would have been out doing things just weren't, and it wasn't as packed as it probably should have been.
Yeah, for sure. But then again, running around in the rain, kind of miserable.
Yeah, it did not look fun. Like, this did not look like a particularly fun leg of the race to run from the get-go.
Yeah, I'm not an athletic person. I am a non-athlete.
Yeah.
So when I saw that statue, I was like, amazing.
Yeah.
I'll be looking at this from the bottom of the stairs. I would not be able to make it up those stairs. If we were on this together, Matt's going to have to carry me up the stairs. It's the way that this is going to be.
And I am
Which is
also,
why I would never be on this show. I'm just not athletic enough.
I'm not exactly the picture of athleticism here either. Like, I think I do a ton of walking because I'm legally blind and I
Yep.
can't drive. So I think I could do a lot of just walking around.
Yeah.
But I can't run. I don't have any stamina. You ask me to lift something, I'm gonna die. It's just like there are limitations. So I'm sitting here and being like, okay, do I think I could have walked up and down those stairs? Probably. I could have been okay there. I probably would have done a little bit better than, unfortunately, your favorites, Jackie and Lauren, did in
Yep.
this situation.
I would be exactly in the same spot as them. I don't have a phobia
Yeah.
of the stairs,
Yeah.
but getting up and down those stairs, it would have just ended me. I would have been in last place, easily last place.
I think their story here, with Jackie talking a lot about what happened to her, it's a really classic example of you can't just take something at face value, because I'm
Yep.
sure there were a lot of people that were like, okay, what? When she was like, I'm afraid of the stairs. But then, she explained it and I was like, wow, that's pretty devastating. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy for you that you were going on this show and willing to take this chance. And it's with this that I have to put the hard hat on here and say,
Oh, no.
I love them. They seem like really great people.
Yes.
But they were never going to win this show.
No, see
but
yourself
but that's
out.
okay. It's okay to
Oh.
have teams on here sometimes. You want it to be competitive in the end, right? You want there to be like 5 or 6 teams that have a chance. But sometimes there are teams that are on the show to get a little bit of something else out of it. And I think that was them. They wanted to have this experience together. They talked a lot about their personal reasons why. Jackie got to conquer this fear. It's like they got a ton out of it. I mean, at the same time, for the sake of drama, I don't think I ever sat in my chair thinking that they had any chance to stay in the race for a good 40 minutes of this episode.
Yeah, no, I never thought they were going to win,
Yeah.
but this is what I love this show for.
Yeah.
And what I love reality shows for in general. I always find myself rooting for the people, or, getting invested in the people that are willing to really share about themselves. We're in a really different time now where
Mhm.
there's a lot of sort of fakeness online, and
Yes.
fakeness on shows, and people that are there for, to build their social media following or whatever they're doing. And that's fine. It's
Mhm.
fine for that. But for me as a viewer, I'm here to learn about genuine people and learn about your stories.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I may never get to hear these types of stories if they weren't on TV. Like, it's great if you win, but that's not really what I'm here for.
No, yeah, we want to be invested in these people. We want to root for these people. And that's why occasionally there are seasons of The Amazing Race where they kind of end and it's just like, wah, wah, because a lot of the
Right.
winners often are these just like really super athletic people
Right.
who are either, two young dudes or a dating couple or something like that. And, hats off to them for winning. But a lot of times their stories are a little bit boring.
Yeah, which is why I wish that there were just more balance in the challenges, like on the traders, where sometimes there's physical challenges where you're carrying a barrel up a hill, but sometimes you're in a dollhouse where dolls are screaming at you and shooting water in your face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just needs to be a little more balanced with that.
Hey, sometimes there's singing challenges. That could have worked out okay on The Amazing Race.
That's right.
Okay, well, we get to at this point, we're already starting to see, somewhat of a separation between certain teams. Like you mentioned, one team in particular, Brett and Mark, who do really well
Yep.
at this roadblock. But okay, if we're on The Amazing Race here, we're getting to this roadblock. There's this huge pile of bamboo. You have to climb up it in the rain. I don't think we really need to have that active a discussion as to who's going to end up doing this
Well,
roadblock.
it's not me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, look at me, I'm gonna be great, guys.
But
Let's do
also,
it.
you're like super tall. So I feel like you would have an advantage of being able to at least reach that stuff.
Yeah.
I am crazy short. I am only 5 feet tall. And I feel like I would have a harder time being able to reach everything. This one is for you.
I can do it. I'm not saying we're
You
going to
can.
leave there in first. I'm not even saying we're gonna leave there in fifth. We will do it. It'll happen. I do think we could finish it ahead of Jackie and Lauren and where they ended up finishing it because they were also, once again, I love them not throwing shade, but they were pretty slow getting their way down on this too. And it was
Yep.
just like at that point, it's like, okay, you guys are going to have a really, really hard time.
But it was so exciting to see them up at the top like that. It was,
It was.
I just really enjoyed watching them continue on.
Yeah. Okay. So we end up at this point being to this much hype twist going into the season.
Yep.
Phil has said it time and time again. This
Yep.
fork in the road, which is fundamentally going to change the race. But here's kind of the irony of it. It really was just a detour where you had to do one of the detours and there was a cap on how many people could do each
Yeah.
detour. It really didn't feel like that much of a thing other than this was the only thing that was actually interesting to me about it
Mhm.
was that there's two teams that are going to be eliminated, one from
Yep.
each group. And
Yep.
this did introduce a level of strategy where if you see, for example, a lot of people were choosing the dance part.
Mhm.
And then you go up there and you see that, maybe you're then like, okay, I'm going to choose sing because there's more teams I'm potentially going to be ahead of if I choose sing.
Yeah, I really like that part of this twist
Mhm.
of that bit of the strategy of seeing like, oh, there is this many people over on dance. Oh, there's only, one or two over on sing. I'll go over here and take my chances. But man, that judge over on Sing was so hard on everybody. When I first saw what they were singing and
Yeah.
the movements that they were doing, I was like, you know what? This might actually be the easier of the two. Like, yeah, you have to sing in this different language, but it seemed like the people that were there that were teaching it were really patient and really helpful in getting them up to speed on it.
Mhm.
Because the thing that seemed to be tripping them up is that they also had to dance, right? Like it wasn't just sing, it was sing and dance. It was over here, it's just dance, right? So it was a little bit misleading. I think if we were there,
Yeah.
I would, not knowing what it was, I would have picked sing because I feel like if it's just I have to, repeat these words in this tone and I can't sing, that I'd be
Mhm.
able to do that. But all that other hand gesturing and dancing, that would have tripped me up.
I would have sung like no,
Oh, yeah?
I would have picked sing too. But
Yeah.
here's the real irony of all of it. Just because this is the fun of the race, right? Is that you see these clues, you don't exactly know fully what you're getting into. I would have picked sing just based on that because I'm not saying I'm a good singer because I'm not, but when I was a teenager, I used to record albums and I had like 4 different albums I recorded. And so it's like I used to love songwriting. So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I feel like I could do the singing a little bit faster. I don't know what kind of dance it is. And also, because we are non athletes, I would say it's always important to pick as many non physical tasks as you can.
100%.
Here's the irony in all of this, though. If I had heard after the fact that they got to do the lion dance, I would have been so upset because I've always wanted to be in the lion dance. I've always wanted to do that. It looks so fun.
It does, but for me, obviously, you have problems with your eyes as well. I just feel like if I was in that costume, I would have just had like an impossible time.
It would have been really, really hard. I mean, first of all, we would have had to discuss who was going to be the butt, who was going to be the head. We have to figure
Yeah.
that part out, and then we actually have to do
Yeah.
the routine.
Yeah.
But here is where we have, I think, the most catastrophic mistake of this entire episode is that we have Mark and Larry, who I do
Yeah.
think were pretty entertaining for the most part. They did
Yeah.
deliver one really good line in here where they end up doing the lion dance, and they're just sort of like, you better explain it to me because I'm dumb. And I
I
was
know.
just like, okay, that really did make me laugh. You self-aware kings going in here. But
Yeah, they were funny.
I always do like the country bumpkin archetype who's never really traveled, and you get to have them all over the world. Like, that's an interesting casting, but like, I would be so mad at myself if I am the two of them, where all they had to do was try to sing. Because if they had just tried to sing, it seemed like with the choice that they made, they got to the pit stop so much faster than like the majority of the people who chose to sing.
Absolutely.
Okay, like, here's one of the big problems though with this fork in the road twist, beyond just the fact that we see this like catastrophic mistake from Mark and Larry,
Yeah.
is that it makes it kind of hard to gauge necessarily how good everybody else is as racers among the people who stuck around. Like, I can sit here and draw, like, some assumptions. Like, do I think that Jonathan and Anna are going to do better from here on out? Like, sure, because I think they're really competitive, and those are teams that typically either get themselves like on the bad end of a twist because
Mhm.
everybody knows they're competitive, but they're
Yep.
going to be around for a little while.
Mhm.
But then there's also just this other fact of it, that because you have to spend the time on the twist, you miss out on a couple of post celebrations following being at the mat. You miss out on a little bit of more time to spend with some of these people, because someone who was kind of interesting to me that we haven't spent any time talking about yet is like
Yeah.
Scott and Lori, who have 8 sons.
I know.
I
Oh my
just wish
goodness.
for the life of me they would have just said we wanted a daughter, and they kept trying to get the daughter. And that was just the only thing that was on my mind the entire time that I was watching the two of them out there.
I feel like that probably is what happened, and they all know it. They just don't talk about it, which is
Yeah.
fair. I mean, you don't want to be like, oh man, after son 3, we kept trying for that daughter. Sorry, other 5 sons, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, elsewhere, like we said, Carson Jack's one of the winners of this leg. Listen to
Yeah.
Josiah, the other winners of this leg. So,
Yeah.
they come into the next part of this feeling like they're pretty high on themselves, ready to go. I think this was a very good premiere, a good start to the season. I mean, one of the other problems that I've always had with Amazing Race premieres, though, is that because you have to introduce the teams and because you have to sort of set the stage, there's not as much like actual content. And when you think about it, here's all this episode was: fly to Hong Kong,
Mhm.
go up some stairs,
Yep.
climb some bamboo,
Yeah.
do one challenge, pit stop.
I know.
That's
I
5
know.
things.
I know. And I think that it was tough as well because Jackie and Lauren were so far behind that there was no fixing that edit to make
No.
it look like there was going to be anything there with that.
Mhm.
I mean, there was a little bit more with Mark and Larry, and that was a little more exciting, but just the same, it felt a bit predictable on where it was going to land. But for me, again, it's not necessarily about who's winning or losing.
Yeah.
For me, it's about the stories, and getting to know Jackie and Lauren was really fun.
Yeah.
Getting to know, Jack and Carson, that also I've really enjoyed. There's a lot of really interesting people this season.
I think so too. I think we're set up for a really good season. It seems like there's some fun stuff happening. It looks like they're going to Japan, which of course I'm very excited about as a Japanese minor. That's going to
Yep.
be a field day. So we'll see exactly what happens moving forward on The Amazing Race. But for now, let's just turn this over to you guys. What did you think about the premiere for the season? What teams are you rooting for? Did you like this whole fork in the road twist that really was just about a strategic decision?
Yep.
Let us know. Hit that subscribe button for more coverage. And if you want to support us further, join our Patreon. That link is in the description. We are covering The Pit on Max as
Yep.
well as Prime Target on Apple TV Plus. Thank you guys so much. We'll
you.
see you here next time.